Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So glad you could be with us for the next hour. I'm Paul Dottino. He is two-time Super Bowl champion Jonathan Casillas, and we're here to talk New York Giants football. 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Get on the lines. We got them all open right now at the beginning of the program. I want to hear some first-time folks. I know that we lifted the ban, right, in terms of repeat callers during the course of the week for the time being. But if we can get some first-time callers in here today, I think it would be fun. It is a glorious day in North Jersey. I think it's going to be in the 80s, right, Jonathan?
It's beautiful right now, bro.
As sunny and as bright and clear skies. Man, what a great day for football. And this was off-season team activity number 2 for the New York Football Giants. Just got done with practice a short time ago. Have a few thoughts, some generic thoughts. Of course, we can't get into specifics. That just is not according to the rules. We just can't do it. But I do have some generic thoughts after watching the first 2 OTAs from this team. And Jonathan, what I really want to do is maybe run them by you. And if you have any takes or any questions or any curiosities off some of these things, I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Number 1. Drew Lock has much more athleticism, mobility, and maneuverability than I think anybody thought. If you don't get to see this guy, now we all knew coming out of school, by the way, he was a second-round draft pick. So he was legit.
Yeah.
He throws an absolutely gorgeous ball, which we also knew when he came out in the draft. But what I've seen over the course of the last couple of days, and I certainly saw a lot more of it today, is his athleticism and maneuverability and escapability. I'll be honest with you, folks, not having the chance to watch really much of his NFL career, if at all, because let's face it, he's only been a starter for basically 1 year.
Yeah.
I'm pleasantly surprised, and I think that's a real plus for the Giants if he can utilize that aspect of his game if called upon, if Daniel Jones is unable to go or misses time.
Yeah, well, look, I think there's no secret out there, not to say that the pocket quarterback is dead, but I think it's kind of, I think it's kind of a dying breed in the NFL. I think the ability to create outside the pocket is huge. The ability to create, extend passing plays and extend drives with your athleticism. I think that's kind of, what everybody's kind of been, floating over to in this last decade of what we've seen football, the NFL really evolve to. So I like it. I met him this past weekend. I was at the little softball game,
right?
The celebrity softball game. I met him there. Great guy. Great energy. Was with the fans.
Good guy to talk to.
Yep. Yeah. And for me, I always like to see what type of person the player is. And just getting to meet some of these guys this weekend, Drew Lock being one of them. I got a good feeling about him, and I'm happy that he's here. I'm happy that the Giants got a good guy who has durability. Which I think was a major concern for the quarterback position for the New York Giants. So I think that checks a box. Let's see if he does get the nod early or if he does play at any time this year, if he can back up what he's been showing.
He threw one off-angle touchdown pass this morning, too, that I'll be honest with you, I was like, whoa.
Pretty good?
I had to do a double take.
Pretty good?
It was, I don't know, Pearson, was it like 2/3? It was about a 2/3 angle. It wasn't quite sidearm, but it was about a 2/3 angle, and whipped it to the end zone for a score. And I was like, well, that's a little interesting.
Yeah. See,
I didn't expect that.
At this time of the year, it's really hard to kind of see like, oh, this guy shows us something that would translate over to fully pads with a pass rush in front of you.
I want to make it clear, folks.
But that, what you just said, the kind of different arm angle that he showed you, that can be shown now. And you'd be like, oh, okay, that's a tool that he has in his bag that he could use come September.
It may not translate perfectly, but when you do see certain things out here and you're like, okay, at least we know he has that.
Right. He has
Even
that,
if he can't use it effectively in a game, which we don't know, but at least he's got it.
That's good, man.
It caused me to double take.
Yeah.
So that was so. Anyway, Drew Lock is throwing the ball extremely well. Again, I expected that because he always threw the ball well, even coming out of school. All right, so that's Drew Lock.
And Daniel Jones is out there, right? Or he's doing some stuff, not team stuff, right? Or is he doing team stuff?
he's doing some stuff, and that's as far as I'm going to go.
Okay, cool.
We can't fully disclose everything.
Understood.
Yep. Okay.
I know they're going to ask, so I'll make sure I ask first.
Very impressed with Tay Banks.
Of course.
In the team snaps earlier today, as sharp as a tack.
Yeah. You know? And he was the guy that got me out in dodgeball twice. Thanks. The first game we played. So first of all, this is alumni versus current players, right? And all alumni, we're all like hesitant because we're like, did you get your right? Did you put Bengay on? You know, did you put your icy out on? You know, you take your whatever you need to take to go out here and play against these young boys. And we played dodgeball first, and I think I played the second game against the younger guys, and I got a couple of those guys out. And I don't know if it was just me and Banks at the end. And he got me. He hit me right in my chest with the ball. But, hey, Paul almost got him. I had a double. Okay. And then the second game I played in. But it's not
horseshoes. Almost doesn't count.
Right. So the second game I played in, I said, you know how you got to run and get the balls first?
Yeah.
I ran out, and I grabbed two of the same balls that he grabbed. You know, like we grabbed the same, and then Pinnock hit me right away, and I got out first. I was the first one out. But, bro, it was a fun weekend. I got to meet a lot of the guys. I got to be around a lot of the younger guys. Pinnock, I got a chance to talk to. Banks, I got a chance to talk to. The kid from Purdue, Lacey? Tracy.
That's my next comment.
I met him. Awesome kid. He said he wants to do some of this stuff afterwards.
See how he's cut, too?
Oh, yeah. He's a lot bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
Not a big height-wise, but his legs, he got nice, solid legs.
And here's the thing.
He looks like a running back. I know he played receiver, but he looks like a running back. He doesn't look like a wide receiver.
Okay, but here's the thing. See him on the field. I know it's only helmets, pads, shells, and shorts right now. But on the field, these first 2 days, especially today, he's playing at a different speed than everybody else.
Ooh, I like to hear that.
Jonathan, I get it. You know, again, this isn't really a real game. It's not even a preseason game, so I get it. I don't want to get too excited, but he moves with such fluidity, and his lateral acceleration when he gets out to the flats, and then as soon as he gets the ball, he's upfield and hits that second gear.
That's good.
I'm telling you, very initial impressions, very impressed with Tracy.
That's good. And like I said, he's a lot bigger than I thought he would be. Given that he used to play wide receiver and he got traded over to play running back. He looks good. He talks very well. You guys are going to have fun interviewing him.
And it goes without saying he's got hands because he was a receiver.
Yep. So that bodes very well for him. All of those things transfer over well. To when you put pads on.
Yeah,
for sure.
Saw a really nice high stab made by Eric Gray today, which, by the way, is important for him because this imported rookie looks like he's got some flashes. So any of the incumbents in the running backs room, they better be aware because this kid's coming to steal some snaps.
Talking about Gray, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Gray. I thought he looked good from the college film that I watched 2 years ago. And then last year, he didn't really get that much of an opportunity.
Didn't have much of a chance. And then when they put him in on kick returns, that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, I think we kind of dropped the ball, literally, with that.
Yeah. Other thought, Mills had a defensive interception off a deflection today.
Okay.
Which was kind of nice, heads up by him. And really, my only other two comments about today's workout is that there's going to be great competition in the wide receiver room.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because the guys on the back of the depth chart, and I'm not talking about the Hyatts or the neighbors, okay? No. I'm not talking about the front guys. The guys on the back of the depth chart, they all made plays today. All of them. This wide receiver competition is going to be very, very intriguing. I'm just telling you, folks. From what I've seen in the first two OTAs, it's going to be very intriguing. Again, now nobody's getting hit.
Yeah, of course.
And that makes a difference, right? You know you're not going to get hit, so maybe it allows you to concentrate better and make these catches that look a lot prettier than they otherwise would. I'm just saying, the wide receiver room, keep an eye on it during the course of the summer.
Anybody made any spectacular plays or catches?
I don't know if I'm allowed to go that far. Just to say the depth chart was very impressive at wide receiver.
Okay, that's good to hear.
And then my other thought was there was more competitiveness today. And why do I say that? Because there is no contact, because guys were a little more vocal. Body language was definitely very noticeable. And especially anytime that a guy made a play, the reaction from the teammates.
Yeah.
Visual reaction. You know what I'm talking about because you've been through these drills before.
For sure.
When guys are just kind of running through the drills and there's nothing really there. You know, they're doing it. They're paying attention. They're giving effort. But then there's other times for some reason, and maybe it's because it was the second OTA, not the first, guys seem to be a little bit more up for each other. And when a guy made a play, there were more guys like rallying around like, hey, man, touchdown. Five guys throwing their hands up.
Yeah. That's good. That creates that competitive spirit, that competitive juices that I think, helps get the most out of every guy. You're going against your own teammates, but you're also, trying to solidify yourself on this roster. And they're taking notes. They watch everything you do. As soon as you walk into this building, they're watching everything you do.
Well, we try to tell people that.
From the meeting room to what you're doing in the cafeteria.
There's grades on everything.
On everything. And, of course, every time you are out there on the field, they're evaluating. They got the cameras on you. So everything that you put out there as a player, even between the video coverage, when you go to the huddle, when you talking to your coaches, when you're talking to your teammates, they watch how you talk to the training staff. They watch all of that stuff. So, of course, when you're doing football stuff, everything is considered. Everything is taken, to note. And it's good to see that they're moving in the right direction. By day two already.
Those are some of the generic observations I could give you from today's OTA number 2. A little bit of spillover from what I also saw in the first one yesterday. And we are now here to take your phone calls at 201-939-4513, on Twitter at #GiantsChat. And as a reminder, you can find an archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcast. Jonathan, what do you say we get to the phone calls?
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to go to line number 1, and it looks like that will be Dave in Michigan. You are first on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, Paul. Jonathan,
Hi.
How you doing?
What's up, Dave?
I called in, Paul, one day when you weren't on, and I mentioned to Schmelk, because Jonathan may not know, you and I go back 40 years. I said, Paul has never changed. And Papa said the same thing. And here's what it is. You are the most earnestly enthusiastic person I have ever known.
Okay. I'll take that as a nice thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Dave.
I just wanted to get that one.
We were
out of the
Fordham
way.
classmates,
So,
for you folks who may not understand exactly what he was saying there.
All right.
a couple of this is the first time I've called since the draft, actually. I just want to say I don't think Waller's going to be back. That's just my gut. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you about Theo Johnson. Does he remind you of like the Kevin Boss, Jake Ballard kind of tight end?
He's more of an athlete than those guys.
Yeah.
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 I like both of those guys, Boss and Ballard, but they're not as good an athlete as this guy is.
You know what's really
they're tall,
funny?
though, like him. They both
true.
got tall.
If I could interrupt you 1 second, Dave, it's funny because I tried to tell people I thought that Bellinger was like Jake Ballard 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that Theo Johnson is going to be much like Kevin Boss, maybe a little more athletic.
Okay.
Certainly because of what we saw at Penn State. But in a similar way, I think he's a Kevin Boss type because he's a two-way tight end, has a big frame, he's long, he can block, and he can also make some plays downfield, but he's certainly more athletic than Kevin was. I don't want to take that away from Theo at all as a rookie. But it's interesting that you brought up those two names because I see these two guys kind of fitting into somewhat of the shadow of those two guys from the past.
Interesting.
Well, I love the look of this guy. I want to say something about DJ. Look, I am we will move on from DJ when there is a quarterback that the coaches have more confidence in and / is healthier than DJ. And that's it. That's how this business works. So I'm 1,000,000% behind DJ. I'm hoping for a great season. But I have a question. History shows us that guys with coming back from ACL don't really hit their stride until after week 10 of the following season. So my question is, we got a quarterback who, by the way, when he's got a line in front of him and he's got people to throw to, I think this guy has a great arm for accuracy. But the thing that we love about his game is his ability to keep the defense off balance, because they never know when he's going to take off. So my worry and my question to you guys is week 1, if DJ is our quarterback, we're going to have a guy who doesn't probably have that threat or that part of his game to keep the defense off balance. Am I wrong?
No, there's something to that there. You know, I think the big question is, will Daniel Jones be healthy for week 1? And if he is healthy, I think I say this with a lot of confidence. His confidence in his leg won't be 100% there. You know, it's just really hard to come back the first game and just be like, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to be the same person I was before I got hurt, and I'm just going to play ball. Mentally, it's kind of hard to do that.
Do you think we'll see him take any snaps in the preseason?
I don't think so, no.
I don't think so either. No. At least I suspect not.
Yeah.
Which means week 1 may be the first time he's on the field.
Right.
And that's a little the idea that he's not going to take any snaps in preseason. I got to tell you, it's worrisome to me about how much he's going to be ready against the Vikings, because, as Paul, I've said on previous call, the offense, I like what they did with the offensive line. I look at these guys as competent individuals, professionals, but I also, you've got to look at an offensive line as a unit. And so I look at this unit as, you know, much upgraded from last year. It'd have to be, but much upgraded. But these guys have got to play a quarter of each of the 3 preseason games together to be ready for week 1. That is my greatest wish for the front office and table, to make that decision.
I understand, Dave. I think the thing about the quarterback spot, though, is because you can have these dual team practices during training camp, and I fully expect that the Giants will have a reciprocal with the Detroit Lions as they did last year. You can control those kind of scrimmages, if you will, and make sure that your guy can take some snaps under somewhat game conditions with the first team offensive line and protect him and not worry about him getting hurt, because in those controlled scrimmages, controlled practices, call them whatever you will, the rules are set up between the coaches. Okay, we're not touching the quarterback.
Yeah, you never touch the quarterback.
So there's a safety factor there that you won't get in a preseason game.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, I agree.
Well, I'm hoping for the best. And, Paul, if you guys come back to Detroit, you've got to let me take you to Giovanni's for dinner.
Well, it would be here. Detroit is coming here in the preseason. Yeah. But I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you.
All right.
Stay well. 201-939-4513. List of somewhat recent NFL quarterbacks who have rebounded from an ACL. Deshaun Watson, 6 months to recover. Ryan Tannehill, 9 months to recover. Jimmy G, 7 months to recover. Joe Flacco, 7 months to recover. RG3, 6 months to recover. All of these quarterbacks were able to get back in well under a year.
Yeah, but I know Robert Griffin, his wasn't fully healed back.
It didn't work out so well. Now, I'm of the opinion that the Giants' offense, if the line is improved as we think it will be, they've added some more weapons on the outside. I'd like to believe that Daniel Jones won't have to run as much as he has in the past, specifically running forward. If he wants to move around and buy more time to throw, I've said it 1,000 times, I'm good with that. Show some escapability. Escapability means you're buying time to throw. Mobility is more about guys who will take off for yardage and run forward.
Yeah.
I would like to see Daniel cut back on some of the mobility and increase the escapability.
Yep.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, and for me with that, I think his footwork in the pocket needs to improve a little bit, and I think that will help him. I think that will help him get out throws in better time, so he doesn't have to rely on his athleticism and getting outside the pocket. But if you can create a little bit extra time in the pocket while staying in the pocket by maneuvering slightly up, slightly lateral, slightly forward, slightly angled, slightly backwards to escape the rush, keeping yourself in the pocket, which requires, I think, minimal athleticism than if he decides to tuck the ball and run with the ball. But I think that will help him feel a little bit more confident and comfortable being in the pocket, because he has to improve his pocket presence, because I don't think early on in the season he needs to be trying to rely on his legs, and the Giants shouldn't be calling a lot of quarterback runs if Daniel Jones is the guy week 1. At least let him, like the caller had a point. He said week 10. I don't know when the week is, but I don't think week 1. Look, we've been through this plenty of time. I've been through a lot of injuries. That first game back, it's rough. It's rough. And for me playing on the defensive side of the ball, I would just rely on being physical. I would say, okay, maybe my athleticism is a little off because something is going on lower body-wise, but I would make up for it by being like, I'm just going to hit people. I'm just going to hit people. And that would kind of get me back. Right. That would get my confidence back. What gives a quarterback confidence? Not hitting people, right? Completing passes, right? Getting first downs. For me, stay in the pocket, get your comfortability and your confidence back by being a pocket quarterback, delivering the ball well in the pocket, not relying on your athleticism and being, how you say, not like something that discredits you. Like you go out and you do something like defeated, right? When you go out and you do a play and it doesn't work out for you because your athleticism is not there. Right. I don't want them to get discouraged. I think that was the word I was looking for. That's a great word. Sure. And for me, the number one thing for, I think, somebody coming back, especially at that position, you need comfortability and you need confidence. You need confidence to go out and perform at a high level.
I think one of the things I've talked about in the shows when you weren't on is that not only do you hope that there's the upgrade with the offensive line, but you believe that these receivers as a whole are upgraded, which means they can get open quicker and give him a better chance to get rid of the ball. In addition to that, you can use more quick game also to get that ball out faster. And with Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson on the field, you've also got the ability to do a lot of that gadgetry stuff that the 49ers like to use.
Yep. And the ability to check out of a run to a now pass to several different guys, not just one guy.
Right.
And you could do it to a lot of different guys.
So there should be, with the improved parts around Jones, and then if you want to do a little bit of schematic stuff, you should be able to lessen the impact that he's going to face, the amount of times he's going to have to run and put himself in jeopardy and take hits. Yeah. You should be able to do that.
Yeah. But that was the whole goal for the Giants this offseason. Improve the offensive line. They did that in free agency. And improve the weapons around them. They did that via free agency and also the draft.
201-939-4513. We go to Paul in New Jersey's on line 3. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
How you doing, John? How you doing, Paul?
Hi.
What's going on?
Quick question I got for you. So, I know last caller kind of stole my thunder, but with Daniel Jones and his injuries, right, with the additions they made on offensive line with Jermaine and with running, do you think that he's going to have the confidence in his offensive line to keep him protected from getting all those hits that he's had the last couple seasons?
I mean, no, because the injuries there, it's hard to be confident coming off of something. And like when you coming back from, especially a lower body injury, when you coming back from that and you're out there running around and doing certain things, there's going to be something that your knee or your ankle, whatever you're dealing with in Daniel Jones' situation, his knee, there's going to be certain things that your knee's going to say, hey, you're not that guy right now. You may be able to get there, but like, let's say you're running and you just make a cut and all of a sudden you're like, that didn't feel as good as it used to feel. That is not as explosive as it was before. And that right there is something tricky that's tricks that your mind plays with you and your body plays with you when you're coming back. So I think the ability for him to go out there and, like Paul said, the improved O-lineman, so he doesn't have to be a runner early and he can actually make these passes. Everything is tied in. What Paul was saying earlier, the ability to get open helps Daniel Jones get the ball out quicker. That also helps the offensive line, so they're not protecting for more than 3 seconds, right? So all of these things are tied in, and the way the Giants handled this offseason is trying to give whatever quarterback is playing for the Giants week 1 the ultimate confidence that you don't have to put the team on your back because we've improved the offensive line. We've improved the targets around you to make your job that much easier. So it's going to be hard given his injury. I'm talking about Daniel Jones specifically. But I think the Giants did a pretty good job in putting things around him to make that confidence and that comfortability there for him when he comes back.
I see. Okay. And then with the offensive line again, their run offense has been not there. So I don't know if adding John and adding Jermaine was key factors to that, because me personally, I don't think Runnin is a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. I think he's better in the passing game than he is in the running block.
Right.
I don't see them producing good running games with the offensive line that we have now. So what do you think? What do you think they should do? I know they've been trying to get it so where Daniel Jones is able to be good in the pocket and stand, but they also have to keep the defense honest and have a run game. But I don't think Singletary is going to be able to do that with the offensive line that we have now.
Well, look, it's like I said before about the quarterback's confidence, a combination of things. Getting established runs, being able to move the ball efficiently has a lot to do with not just the players on the field and what they're doing, but also the timing of the call, what type of defense that they're going against. And a lot of times for the last, 6 years, the Giants had 8-man boxes because you had Saquon there. Now, with these receivers on the outside, possibly the threat of these guys being great third down guys, a great get-it receivers, one-on-one, beating coverage, getting open. Like that creates, I think, the ability for the Giants to face less than 8-man boxes, 6-man boxes, 7-man boxes, which will alleviate some pressure in the run game and allow Singletary, who is, I think he's a career 4.7 yards a carry guy.
Well, he gets between
which is
800 and 900
very,
yards
very consistent for his entire career, which means a lot. That, there's guys in the league who are really good running backs who average closer to 4 or 3, a little less than 4 yards a carry, and that 1 yard average is huge on first and second down.
Well, he's been the starting back for a playoff team every year of his career between Buffalo and Houston. He's been the lead back on a winning team. But I think to your question, and it builds off of what Jonathan said a second ago, if you can show the weaponry with Robinson and Hyatt and Slayton, and Neighbors.
And now Neighbors,
hopefully Waller, and if not Waller, maybe Theo Johnson, who's got great athleticism. The point is, right? The point is, and I'll be honest with you, Allen Robinson runs great routes. He's a possession guy at this point in his career because he doesn't have the speed, but he's got those smarts and he's got the ability to run crisp routes. He can get open quick. He can be part of that quick game because he's got the body to wall off a corner and make a catch. The hope is that maybe you force the other team's defense to play a ton of dime.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot of nickel, but maybe a ton of dime. Well, now, if they're doing that, you got the ability to audible into a running play. And maybe make something happen. Make it easier on your line.
Yeah.
He was talking about the box before. I'm just simply saying, what if it's a light defense because they're playing dime?
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
That's why the pro football is the greatest game in the universe.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? Because it's far beyond. There's so much involved. The spider web that is pro football. It is 20 times more cerebral than chess.
Oh,
not even close.
Absolutely.
Not even close.
Absolutely.
I mean, nobody's hitting you in chess.
No.
Thanks for the call, Paul. Appreciate it.
You don't
No
have
problem.
to think when a big 300-pound man is running after you.
You're not kidding. The element of, well, I don't know if fear is the right word, but how about self-preservation?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Is a big factor in
back in
football.
my day, you hear me, Pearson, back in my day, back in 2009, there was fear. For definitely for wide receivers going across the middle, there was fear. And you know what? Tom Brady even said it recently. He was like, man, he's like, these quarterbacks, they don't have the fear of getting their receivers killed, and they're throwing kind of errant passes over the middle, and those are throws that wouldn't happen 10, 15 years ago because the linebackers and safeties are going to smash those guys. And that was a legal thing back in the day.
Yes.
When you hit a guy helmet to helmet, they allowed certain things like that. You know, it wasn't illegal when I first got in the league.
I know.
By the time I got out, though, all of that stuff was in the trash. You couldn't do none of that stuff.
201-939-4513. We go to line 2. Ron in New Jersey. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, guys, you set me up nicely there. I'm not a first-time caller, Paul, but I'm certainly not a frequent caller.
Okay.
Jonathan, my first time talking to you is a pleasure. So if I could just set this up, and I hope I can articulate this properly, about what you just said about the complexity of the sport. I get that. I think fans are lucky to see the onion get peeled back with what media can do, and we can get, quote, inside the huddle without actually being in the huddle, right? And I hear so much about systems and what an advantage somebody has over I know this system. He doesn't know that one. He's had to work under two systems. And I mean this with respect and admiration for professional athletes. How different are there? 32 different systems? Does the media overplay that? Am I underplaying that? Am I making sense?
I would only say this to you, and Jonathan played for a number of different coaches and coordinators, so I'll have him quickly respond here. But I'll say this. We've all heard about the Parcells coaching tree, the Bill Walsh coaching tree.
Sure.
You know, so what happens is you get these outstanding coaches who have a high level of success, and sooner or later, those assistants will branch out and they'll wind up becoming coordinators, and some of them are going to wind up becoming head coaches. Look at all the ones that came from Coughlin and Parcells who went on to have other productive careers in the coaching ranks, even if it was only as a coordinator or an assistant after they left the Giants. So they're always going to take a big chunk of that stuff with
get
them.
that.
So to say there's
appreciate
32 different systems, no, there's not. Because a lot of guys come from a coaching tree.
Yep.
I want Jonathan to
Well,
That's what
follow
I'm
up here.
asking.
I think, Paul, I think there is 32 different systems ran because they don't do it the same exact way as their predecessor
Right,
does it.
but those are more, that's more tweaks.
Nuance.
Tweaks, yeah, but everything is like that, right? Like, let's say a standard gap scheme run play is power, right? Mm-hmm. There are certain ways that certain teams do it that are a little bit different than another team. But like every team runs power.
Right, and there aren't 32 ways to do it.
Right. There's probably 15.
Right.
But
It could
and
be.
I'm talking about like maybe kicking out at a different angle, kicking out a different player, pulling a different guard, facing a different front. You do different things. But like power is pretty much power. Like that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Like these passing plays that everybody like there's not too many like plays that one team runs that nobody else runs. Like maybe Kansas City.
that's what
Andy Reid. No, seriously. Come on now. Let's be real about this.
I know.
Andy Reid and Kansas City, I think they're in their own little bubble about how they run things.
Years ago, they used to say Mike Martz when he was running the Rams. Jason Sehorn would say, hey, they give us 4 game films, right, to watch before we go to play them, and nothing was the same. Every single play was different through those 4 games. It's like, how are you supposed to scout that guy?
Yeah.
So Mike Martz was
that's
one of those
impressive.
guys.
Yeah. So every now and again, you'll get some stuff that you've never seen before. But usually, and I'm talking about from a defender, watching offenses week in and week out, there's variation to everything. But everybody runs zone. Everybody runs an inside zone or wide zone. Everybody runs power. Everybody runs maybe an inside or outside power. Like they have similar stuff. it might be blocked a little bit differently. The language probably is a little bit different, going to different systems. And depending on what defensive front they're seeing, it has to get varied. And every team, like you said, there's 32 teams, right? If they have the same front with 32 different teams have the same exact front, it might be blocked maybe 8 to 16 different ways, but maybe not 32 different ways.
Right.
But 8 to 16 different ways, that same front will be blocked by the different teams that run the same play.
To put it in my language, you can have a whole bunch of different pizzas when you walk into that Italian place, right? And one guy's got sausage, one guy's got pepperoni, another guy's got extra cheese, right? But it's still pizza. But there's a little different topping on it. The guy who puts pineapple on it should go to jail for 10 years, though. Okay?
I'm with you on that.
That's a felony right there.
That's the Wildcat offense.
Quick question, last point. Isn't it even better, though, to play with the same guys? Isn't that more of an advantage?
Yes.
If you're playing, if that line's staying together?
I think that's the ultimate measure, too. When you see consistency from offensive linemen, it's usually the same group of guys that's out there together for an extended period of time. You know, the Giants, the last few years, the rotation, the carousel that they had on offensive line, it's hard to get consistent play without the consistent guys being there. Correct. You start learning, how to play next to the guy next to you. Like there's certain things that he does very, very well, and I need to know that. And then there's certain things that he might struggle with, and I also need to know that as well. He might not be as good with somebody crossing his face when he's reaching to his right. If I'm going that way, I need to know that. Right. And if I don't know that, all of a sudden that nose tackle's hit me in my ear. What just happened to you? Like, there are things that you will learn. Right. There was things like, I played with Damon Snacks Harrison, right? Defensive tackle, 355 pounds. He played differently than most tackles I've ever played with. But he was a dominant tackle. I had to learn how to play with this guy. By middle of the season, I knew how to play with him. It took a while, but I knew how to play with him. He was a guy that would swallow 2 gaps up. Right? And that means my gap doesn't even exist. So what do? I had to figure that out. But then as the season went on, I'm like, if he's going to take up both gaps, only thing I got to do is on that play, shoot the gap. Or on that play, wait for a second. So you got to understand who you're playing with, and that takes some time to gel and figure out who the guy is next to you.
There's an osmosis and an instinctiveness between players that goes beyond the X's and the O's of the game plan.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought, too. I appreciate the insights there, guys, and go Giants.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate the call. 201-939-4513. Rapid fire here. We're getting a lot of calls this afternoon. Love it. We go to RJ in Georgia. You're on line 3 on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, what's up, Paul? Hey, what's up, John? How you guys
doing? What's up, RJ? All right.
Thanks for the call.
Yes, sir. No problem. First of all, I'd like to ask John, did you play with a player at Wisconsin, Matt Shaughnessy?
Yeah. Shag Nasty is what I called him.
Yeah. Well, there's some connection there because Matt and my son Ronnie played high school football together.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, in Norwich, Connecticut. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that Matt was a hell of a player in the 1 year that my son played with him.
Yeah, he was good. We came in to Wisconsin the same year. He ended up having a good career in the NFL, too. Played for the Raiders for a while. Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah, he is definitely a good kid, no problem. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And the other thing is I'm excited about the schedule. The schedule, I love my 1 o'clock games, and I noticed that this year the Giants have 9.
6 home. 6 home 1 o'clock games on Sunday.
Not bad. Not bad for us. We get home at it. We get home at a decent time.
Oh, that's awesome, and I love 1 o'clock games. You can get up on a Sunday and do your little tailgating and get ready for kickoff at 1. So that was one of the first things that I noticed, that there's I didn't realize 6 home games, but there's 9 total so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to talk about that. And lastly, I want to talk about is our wide receiving core. If we stay healthy and if everything falls into place, those guys, all of them, run 4.3s, 4.4s. If those kids, if they can stay healthy, because 3 out of the 4 wide receivers are really good route runners. If they stay healthy, the Giants can do some big things. What do you guys think?
Well, I told you earlier in the program, but what I'm seeing out here is pretty exciting. The competition in that room looks like it's going to be very, very hot and heavy. Besides your guys at the top of the depth chart, and Jonathan, we look at it here. Bryce Ford Wheaton was, in my opinion, going to make the 53 last year until he blew out his knee, and he's back now from rehab, and he is primed for bear. He wants a spot. He thinks that the injury bug really robbed him of a chance last year, and I think he's right. So this guy is hungry to make this team. There were some other fellas besides Allen Robinson. There's Giles. There's Boykin, the former Steeler. There are guys here. Olszewski is going to make the team, I think, as a kick returner. But that doesn't mean he can't play some receiver.
Right. He was a great addition last year for that position because that was a very position that we were like, what is going on?
You got Isaiah McKenzie competing as well, and that guy's got some pedigree in the NFL. So I really believe that room is going to be a tough cut by the time we get to the end of the camp.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Now, does that mean that Isaiah Hodgins would possibly be the odd man out if Wheaton makes the team?
Hey, you know what? May the best guys win.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. Outside of
no, I hear you.
Outside of Robinson, Hyatt, that's Wan'Dale Robinson. Hyatt,
right?
Neighbors, and I would think Slayton. I would think outside of those four guys, everybody else is going to have to beat the other guys off with a stick to win a spot. You agree?
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
I agree too.
Yep.
That's a good problem to have too.
Sure is.
That's a good problem to have. Well, thank you, fellas. I know it's rapid fire. I'll end with that, but you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks
you too.
For a few minutes.
All right. Hey, appreciate the phone call. Thanks for sticking with us and call again. 201-939-4513. Coach Marvin from Delaware is on line one. Hey, Coach, you're next on BBKL. Hello.
How you doing, Paul and Jonathan?
We're great. How are you?
What's up, Coach?
I'm doing all right. Not too bad. I was sitting there listening, and you guys talking about Daniel Jones and the injury, if he's going to play or not play. I mean, it's a good sign that he's doing OTAs. That's a good start. Especially, it's a little different than a running back or a receiver injury. With quarterbacks, I think the way the rules are built, he can come back a lot sooner because you can't hit them low, you can't hit them high. It's only a certain point you can hit them. So I think he'll probably be back sooner than we think he will. I think there's a possible. We don't know. I think the way the team's going to have to be set up, they look good. The offensive line that they're trying to improve on, the receiving core, the backfield, that might be a little questionable. I think pretty much all of it's questionable at this point. But on paper, it looks good. You know what I feel about paper, but it looks good on paper. I think with Neighbors, I believe that if he can produce and get open as quick as he's done in college, that can improve the team as far as you guys were talking timing. It's like Jonathan was saying, you got to get the ball out in 3 seconds. I used to tell my guys, you got 3 seconds to get rid of it. If you don't, you better be looking to get hit. You don't have to look for it, but you have to feel for it. And I think that's where Daniel's going to have to go. He's going to have to learn to have more pocket awareness. He's a runner, but he's not an escape artist type of runner. He's a straight line runner, and so I think that's going to be important. But I think you can put him in. It depends on how he does through the training camp. I think he can get a drive in. He doesn't have to throw the ball just to get him in the game. He can hand the ball off. You don't really have to do much to get him in the game. But I think you probably, if he's able to, get him in a game and let him get his feet wet a little bit. I'm not looking for him to throw it. If it's a quick check down, then you give him something like that. But you just get him in the game to let him get the feel of the game again and see how he does. So that quarterback room, it's going to need some work, and Dable them going to have to really work this quarterback room. So I'm a little concerned about it, but I'm behind them. I'm not going to jump ship. So I am behind them.
So,
Coach, you got Daniel Jones being the starter week 1. Just on health wise, he'll be healthy, ready to go. You think so?
John, it's very difficult because we don't know the medical. You know?
Of course.
For anybody to say, "Oh, he's going to be week 6. It may be week 10. Oh, it won't. It could be week 3. It's very difficult. We have to see him, and if we see him, I think it may be a chance. Because the only reason I feel it's a slight chance is because he was just in the OTAs, and again, not like a running back. It's not like a wide receiver. Those guys, their cuts is very important. I mean, they stick their foot in the ground, and they on those knees hard. And the quarterback is just not doing it in the same manner. Maybe when he's dropping back, he steps hard to come forward when he's ready to throw, and maybe that can affect him a little bit. His footwork, I don't know, but I'm gonna say I got a slight shot that he can play week 1, and I think they're gonna look and hope for that because of the room.
Coach, all the statements coming from the Giants is that they're planning on having him for the start of training camp. Now, of course, I expect him to be limited during training camp, but week 1, as far as I believe, they're very confident about week 1, and I will tell you now what he's done to this point. He's moving around really well.
He's headed in the right direction.
He's moving around really well. Yeah. I understand their optimism because I could see it. I could see it.
Right. And if I'm the coach, I'm almost banking on hoping he comes back because that's my livelihood too. Because I need my best guys on the field. I'm not saying that the other 2 can't do it. If I'm coaching, I work with them. I'm not going to abandon them. That's what I got. What can they do for me? But I always want my guy on the field, the number 1 guy. So I feel they're going to hope that he can get on the field in week 1. Before I hang up, 2 guys I want to give a shout out to. My tight end from high school, Mark Dagnall, won Coach of the Year in the NBA. So I want to congratulate Mark.
Cool.
So he played for me in 2002. And the other one I want to congratulate, I just met his brothers, Dante DiVancino. I just became friends with his brother, John. The Knicks, they did as well as I thought they could do. They did a great job.
That game 7 was rough, though. It's rough.
Yeah, those 2, I just want to give a shout out.
All right, Coach, appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Stay well. 201-939-4513. Our lines are open if you want to try to get in during the final 10 minutes of the program. Real quick, the other day when I was on with John, I looked up time to throw on Next Gen Stats for Daniel Jones. No coincidence that in 2022, when the Giants made the playoffs and Daniel Jones played winning football, now we know he did run for a lot of yards, but he had 0.2 of a second more time to throw on the average than he did last season. And that 0.2 of a second makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Yep.
Is it any wonder where the offensive line, which was functional in 2022, allowed Jones to lead this team to the playoffs with a very, very shorthanded wide receiver room? And then last year, when the offensive line was not nearly functional, everything fell apart even from the very beginning of the season. Yep. Is it any wonder?
Not at all. I mean, and that's the tricky thing about coming back for Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones' successful season, not even season, the times he had success in the NFL, no matter when he was playing, his feet were usually involved in that game. So I'm thinking about early on in his career, that Tampa Bay game down in Tampa, when he threw for like 200, ran for a couple, and ran for, I think, 2 touchdowns. Like, Daniel Jones' success is very much predicated on his legs. His ability to get outside the pocket, throw the ball down the field. The decisiveness, which we saw in 2022, with him able to, drop back and run for the first down. He did that. Every game we've seen Daniel Jones getting those first downs. And that's why I shifted earlier to me saying Daniel Jones has to develop hopefully he has developed at this point right now as a pocket quarterback, because I don't think he can rely 100% on his athleticism as he did in the past. And we'll see, man. Like, I'm all for it. I'm a big Daniel Jones supporter. I hope he's healthy week 1, and it may not look the same week 1 as it will week 18 when Daniel Jones has a year underneath his belt playing with this ACL, playing with this new knee, over the ACL. But he has a new knee now that doesn't have an ACL or whatever. They've repaired ACL, whatever the case is. It's a new knee now, and he has to figure out who he is with this new knee, and he has to develop confidence throughout the season, because that first week, your mind plays tricks on you almost. When you come back from some of these injuries, your mind doesn't allow you to do certain things. Your body's not ready to do certain things. So I don't think we're going to see the same Daniel Jones week 1 as he will be in week 10, week 13, week 14, and later on in the season. I think he will improve, and his confidence will improve as he gets going during the season.
Let's not forget, when going through that list before, Tom Brady suffered a torn ACL too and came back from it. Mm-hmm. I mean, so modern medicine, quarterbacks are able to do it and still go on and have the kind of career that they were supposed to have. The torn ACL is not a career-ending, I don't want to say death sentence because that sounds too overly dramatic, but a torn ACL for a quarterback in these days does not automatically sidetrack you and get you sent over to the boondocks. It just doesn't anymore.
Everybody responds differently, though.
That is true. But it's not an automatic.
It's not automatic. I mean, Robert Griffin was up there. I think they rushed him back a little too early. Yeah. And he clearly tore his knee up again.
There's no doubt.
And then Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, when I played against the kid, legit. Yeah. He was legit. Like, he was everything that everybody said positive about him. He was, I think, was that year 16, I think, or 17, one of those years?
I don't even remember what year it was.
He was legit. And then
I liked him coming out of school.
Then the injury happened, and he's not that guy anymore.
Never been the same.
He's not that guy.
That's true.
Some people come back. Some people, Adrian Peterson tore his ACL. The next year, he won MVP.
Jamal Charles.
Next year.
One of the great running backs who was able to do it
People
too.
that need their knees and need their explosiveness.
Running backs, oh my goodness.
So it all depends, and what it's looking like now from what we're seeing from Daniel Jones and his progression is looking like he's more going the Adrian Peterson route in terms of being maybe even a little bit better when he comes back. Hopefully that's what it is.
I laugh when the Jones critics come at me and some other people and say, well, he had Saquon Barkley in 2022. And Barkley was the guy who led them down the stretch and got them into the playoffs. Listen, no disrespect to any NFL player, but Richie James caught 57 balls as the leading receiver on that team, and he still got them into the playoffs. Yep. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. Richie James was a really good guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. Always had a smile on his face. Wonderful teammate. But when Richie James is your number one receiver at the end of the season and you still got your team into the playoffs, I'm sorry. That says an awful lot about that quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, I agree. And Coach said something, I think it was Coach that just said something about, like, your best players are playing. That's not always the case. I think it's the best performers, the guys that are performing. And I'm going to use Kenny Golladay for an example. When Kenny Golladay got to the New York Giants, he was one of the top receivers in the NFL. I don't know what happened when he got here. He just did not perform well.
The biggest mystery of my career
he did not
is
perform
how
well.
Kenny Golladay fell off a cliff.
And I talked to him. I was thinking maybe he's not a good dude. I don't know. I was trying to figure it out.
Would you tell these people? And then, Kenny Golladay worked very hard in practice every week.
And he's a great dude. I ended up hanging out with him and talking to him. And I feel bad for the season that he was having. Because I'm like, this is a great dude.
I still don't understand how
I don't know what happened. But that's the NFL. You never know what's going to happen, Richie James, like, he was pretty good for us that year. Was he the best wide receiver in the room? No, he wasn't. Did he come up clutch at times in those games?
He turned out to be the most productive during that season. He had to be.
Getting open.
The room was decimated.
So it's not always about who is the best player, because sometimes the best player is not performing up to his ability, or there's some type of injury maybe slowing him down. It's the people that can perform. That's the guys that are playing. and it's not hard to see that. Like, they got enough film to watch and see these guys at practice, and they put a lot of onus on what they're doing at practice during the week. Coach Daboll said that consistently over his tenure here. And it's easy to see. They got everything recorded. 3 different angles on every single play that's ran in this building. So the Giants see everything. The best players don't always play. The people that are ready and that are consistently performing, those are the guys that play. And sometimes those might not be your best players at that specific position.
You can never underestimate, and I talk about headache players all the time, and we're sitting here with a defensive player who could tell you this is very real. This is not something I just made up, folks. When a defense looks at the guys across the line of scrimmage and they know that there's 1 or 2 headache players that they got to be scared of. Maybe scared's not the right word. I know you don't play scared. But guys you need to be thinking about because, that guy can do a lot of things to us. Those headache players are critical. Now, in 2022, Barkley was the only headache player on that offense, and he was a running back. Yes, he did catch a bunch of passes. That is true. But in the passing game, with all due respect, remember, Darius Slayton came on, but his whole season was not.
But that
he
year,
he was not the man he was the whole season.
By the end of that season, Paul, Daniel Jones was a headache player.
And that's the point.
Because if you remember,
there was nobody else.
The way he handled the ball in certain plays,
he could pull it back.
And that created, as a defender myself, that creates a whole extra element with the quarterback run game. That's why if you look at Cam Newton for everything that he did, Cam Newton was never a prolific passer. Never in his entire career. You know why he won MVP? Because he passed the ball pretty good and he ran the ball extremely well. And as a defender, when it gets to third down, when it gets to the red zone, and you add that extra element, you add the RPO game, which gives, that's a headache. A guy that can run RPOs with the ability to run the football as this is a threat here, as give the ball. This is a threat me taking the ball, and this is a threat me passing the ball. That puts us in a bind. And that doesn't happen with the non-mobile quarterback. It just doesn't happen. Daniel Jones, I think he needs to have this year, I think he needs to improve his pocket presence for sure. But at the end of the year, he needs to have those legs in full effect, full confidence to be the Daniel Jones that we know he can be. Because I've seen it before, and I'm waiting to see it again. I don't think it's going to happen that early in the season. But I believe if he can improve his pocket presence and rely on him throwing the football early, by the end of the year, we're going to have a good, I think, developed quarterback in the pocket, and then also his legs would be back underneath him by the end of the year.
The way a pocket passer causes the headaches is because he's got the schematics going, he's able to hit the right guy based on the Achilles in your defense that allows his teammate to then make the big play.
Right.
That's how a pocket passing quarterback becomes a headache.
Yep. Like you look at Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, the greatest, two of the greatest pocket quarterbacks ever, and I throw Drew Brees in there too. Two guys I played with. Peyton Manning I played against plenty of times. They weren't a threat with their legs at all. Their ability to move around in the
Neither was
pocket,
Eli.
right. All of those guys. You throw Eli in there too.
Yep.
Your ability to maneuver in the pocket and create a little bit extra time, like you said, that 0.10, 0.2 of a second, that's huge.
That's it.
That's huge. Like when I got to the Tampa Bay from New Orleans, as soon as they was like, you got anything for me against Drew Brees? I said, yeah. Make sure he can't step up in the pocket. If you don't let him step up in the pocket because he's so short, he will struggle. You know, and that's hard to say. Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Get it.
But that's something that you need to stop.
Coaches call that dirtying the windshield.
Hey, listen, you got to do it for these quarterbacks. These pocket quarterbacks, you got to put guys in their faces. Some guys are really good throwing from that B gap to the right, that window to the right. Drew Brees, when he steps up, he's going to get that ball to somebody down the field running in full stride. Like these quarterbacks, the way the pocket quarterbacks, the way their success is measured and the way they have success in the league is because they can see what that defense is in. And there are certain plays and certain targets that they go to exploit that defense. And all of these guys that I'm talking about too, they were never afraid to check the ball down.
Right.
Never afraid to just check that ball down, get three or four yards. That's a run play.
Yep.
So these quarterbacks, they were able to throw the ball and get a run play even out of a play that's a passing play.
Doesn't have to be a big play, just has to be the smart play.
The smart play. And that's what these quarterbacks and these great pocket quarterbacks are do. They make the smart plays.
That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. Again, we are here every single weekday from 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time live till 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. 1 hour to talk Giants football. As a reminder, the Giants Huddle podcast with all kinds of feature interviews. Hey, it's great stuff. Former players, former coaches, a whole bunch of NFL people. They are available on your favorite podcast platform or giants.com/podcasts. Giants season ticket memberships are available. Stay connected to the team all year long. To learn more about what you can do for the 2029 season, go to giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is still available. And Giants TV is the official connected TV streaming app. You can get it on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app, and get all kinds of great stuff, video highlights and all kinds of great things about the 100th season of New York Giants football, which we cannot wait to get going when we kick it off in September. That'll do it for today's edition. For Jonathan Casillas, he is Jay Casillas52 on Twitter. I'm Paul Dottino, Giants at WFAN. We hope you've enjoyed the program. It's Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Giants. We'll see you next time.